Good morning, children.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, children.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good
Good
Hope you are
morning, ma'am.
remembering what we have covered last day. Who will summarize what all
Yes,
points we learned last day? Shivanya, can you start?
Yes, ma'am.
Ah.
Ma'am, cells were discovered by the English scientist Robert
Ah.
Hooke in 1665 for the first time.
Then Shangiri, what else? What else we learned?
Landmark in the discovery of cell.
What are the different landmarks? First one Shivanya said. Second one?
UN Hooke in 1674 discovered free living cell in pond water.
He was the one who observed living cells in pond water for the first time. Mishal, what was next? The point that we discussed after that?
Robert Brown in 1831 discovered nucleus inside the cell.
Nucleus. Very good. Robert Brown discovered nucleus. And then next, who will say Prarthana?
Ma'am, Perkins coined the term protoplasm in the living
Perkins coined the
substance
term.
of cell.
Very good. Protoplasm. And after that, we discussed about cell theory also. There are 3 points under cell theory. Gobi, can you tell me the first point under cell theory?
Ma'am, all plants and animals are made up of cells.
Okay, first point. Correct. Good. Second point, Jeevan.
Ma'am, cell is a structural and functional unit of life.
Good. Third point, Abhishek.
Ma'am, all cells are from pre-existing cells.
Nice t-shirt. Repeat the point once again. All cells.
Existing cells.
All cells. Repeat the point. What you told already, just repeat it.
All cells
Arise. All cells arise
from pre-existing cells.
Now without looking. Without referring
All
anywhere.
area. All cells arise from pre-existing cells.
Very good. So we'll continue, children, with the lesson. Last year you have learned the classification of organisms based on the number of cells. Who can tell me what are the 2 categories of organisms based on the number of cells? Krishnaveni?
Ma'am, unicellular and multicellular.
And?
Multi.
Very good. Unicellular and multicellular organisms. How do they differ? In what aspect they are differing? Saiba?
Yes, ma'am.
Saiba's video is stuck. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me. What is the major difference between?
The organisms are made up of unicellular organisms are made up of one cell, and multicellular organisms are made up of 1, 2 or more cells.
More than or 2 or more cells. Very good. So we'll continue. Unicellular and multicellular organisms. So here you can see the pictures of 2 unicellular organisms, amoeba and paramecium. Both of them are microscopic and they are made up of single cell. They are unicellular organisms, means organisms made up of a single cell. Now moving on to the next category. Here you can see a tree, a man. Both of them are multicellular. Just representatives have given. So many multicellular organisms are there, as well as unicellular organisms. But a few examples, 2 examples have given here. These are made up of more than one cell, or else you can say organisms made up of many cells. They'll be made up of two or more cells. But when they are made up of just a single cell, you call them unicellular organisms. No doubt, no? Shall I proceed? This already I've learned last year.
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Next, we are going to learn about different types of cells in human beings. You know, cell is the structural. Ashmit, you said something?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Cell is a structural and functional unit of life. So in our body, if you take the case of human body, it is not made up of just one cell. Being a multicellular organism, millions of cells or even billions of cells are present in our body. And all these cells are not identical. There are different types of cells. So some of the examples you can see, and as you see in the figure, they are not similar in their shapes. And their functions also differ. Smooth muscle cell, blood cells, nerve cell, bone cell, fat cell, ovum and sperm. Last year you have learned about the gametes, male and female gametes, ovum and sperm. So these are some examples of cells in our body. And as you can see in the picture, their shapes differ. And what decides the shape of the cells? Any guess?
Ma'am, they function.
Yes, exactly. Who told it, Sivanya? Very good. So it's their function that decides the shape of the cell. So the shape is suited to perform their function. One example I'll tell you, nerve cell. As you can see in the figure, it's very long and it helps in transferring messages or transmitting messages from one part of the body to other. So to facilitate that function, its shape should be like this. If it is very short and small, it cannot carry out that particular function properly. That is, transferring of or transmitting of messages cannot be carried out effectively. That is why they are long. Nerve cell is the longest cell in our body. I think that point you've learned last year. It is the longest cell in our body. So each cell is having a shape which will suit its function. Shape and function of the cell are closely related. Cells are shaped in such a way that they can perform their function effectively. Okay. Moving on to the next one. Cell organelles. You will be learning in detail about the different cell organelles. But in the beginning, just to know what are cell organelles. Last year you have learned.
Yes.
You have learned last year?
Yes.
Yes. What are cell organelles? They are some specialized
Tiny cell
structures
structure.
present within the cell. So scattered in the cell, you can see some specialized structures, and each one performs a specific function. And in the figure, here you can see the structure of a cell, and there you can see so many organelles, ribosomes, mitochondria, lysosomes, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi body. Some of these you will be learning in detail. In class 8, you just learned the names of a few organelles, just the names you learned. This year, you will be learning about the structure, function, shape, etc. of a few organelles. But you should know what are organelles. So in general, these are some specialized structures present within the cell. Each organelle carries out a specific function. A cell is able to live and perform its functions because of these organelles. So just like in a human body, we have different organs. Am I right? Different organ systems. Each carries out a particular function. We have digestive system to carry out digestion, excretory system to carry out excretion, respiratory system for respiration. So similarly, within each cell also, there are some specialized structures which will carry out certain functions. Some will carry out excretion, secretion, synthesis. So many functions are there. So each organelle is provided, or each organelle will be carrying out a particular function. And it is because of these organelles that the cell is able to survive. If the organelles are not working properly, the cell cannot survive. So just like if one of the organ system or even one organ stops functioning in our body, we won't be able to, or our body functions will not be able to function smoothly. So same way, cell organelles are very, very important parts of a cell. I'll repeat the points once again. Cell organelles, they are specialized structures present within a cell. Point number 2, each organelle performs a specific function. And the third point, it's because of these organelles that cell is able to live and perform its functions. A cell cannot survive if its organelles are not carrying out the functions properly. Any doubts? Can I proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
These organelles together constitute the basic unit called cell. So with all these organelles present inside the cell, it makes an individual component or an individual unit. So it's with the help of all these structures that the cell becomes the structural and functional unit of life. These organelles together constitute. Not without these organelles, along with these organelles, cell forms a basic unit of life, or the structural and functional unit of life. Yes? Done?
Yes, ma'am.
And as I told you last class, this is very much related with the topic that you learned, the chapter that you learned last year. Cell chapter, hope you're remembering the structural and functional unit of life. Same, majority of the points are same, but in class 9, you are learning it in detail. Only that is the difference. So the three main components of a cell are plasma or cell membrane, nucleus and cytoplasm. Nucleus, cytoplasm and plasma membrane. Plasma membrane is having another name, that is cell membrane. Cell membrane and plasma membrane both are same. And then what is cell wall, children? If cell membrane is the other
Ma'am,
name,
which protects the plants.
louder?
Ma'am, which protects the plants is called cell wall.
That is a layer found only in plants to give them additional protection. So we will learn about cell wall later. But any cell, whether it is a plant or an animal cell, the three main components that we see are plasma membrane, nucleus and cytoplasm. Okay? No doubts, no?
No, ma'am.
Now we are going to start with the first one, plasma membrane or cell membrane. If you're remembering the points that we learned last year, you can share. Okay, let me hear from you first, then I'll show you the points. What all points you learned about plasma membrane last year? Just recollect and tell me. Varada, Vinayak, Gino, Krishnaveni, Safa, Asin. Even after joining, you won't get attendance if your video is off. Yes, one by one.
Ma'am,
Yes, Prarthana.
ma'am, cell membrane is the outermost layer.
It is the outermost layer found in cells. In plants, there is an additional layer, but apart from that, generally you can say it's the outermost boundary of a cell. Then what else? Others can contribute.
Cell membrane enclosed to cytoplasm and nucleus.
Yes, Midhan? Cell membrane?
Cell membrane enclosed to cytoplasm.
Cell membrane encloses the cytoplasm, or cytoplasm will be present within the plasma membrane. Good. Then What is its function? Apart from that, we learned some with the help of some. Yes,
Ma'am.
yes, Vishal.
Can you repeat the questions more? I cannot hear.
Functions of plasma membrane, or what do you know about plasma membrane? I compared with
Ma'am.
someone there in the school and I had explained its function last year. Who
Ma'am,
is remembering? Yes.
security.
Ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, with the school students, teachers, and security and all.
But security or the gatekeeper, it resembles the gatekeeper in a school. Why? Why plasma membrane of a cell resembles in function to the gatekeeper of the school?
Ma'am.
Yes, Shivanya.
Ma'am, can you hear me?
You want me to repeat the question?
Yes, ma'am.
Functions, or what do you know about plasma membrane? So just now I told that plasma membrane of a cell resembles the function of, or it is similar to the function performed by a gatekeeper in a school.
Ma'am,
Last year
because,
we learned all these. Yes.
ma'am, because it allows only selected materials.
Very good. It will allow only selected materials, just like a gatekeeper allows only certain people to move in and out of the school. Same way, this particular membrane will allow only selected substances to move across the membrane. So it's a selectively permeable membrane or semi-permeable membrane. So hope you are remembering all this. Some of you forgot, no? What we learned last year?
No, ma'am.
No.
I
Okay.
remember.
Good, good. Those who have remembered, well and good. Others, just go through your last year's textbook today itself before reading 9th standard textbook. It's the outermost covering of the cell and it separates the contents of the cell from its surroundings. So cell membrane or plasma membrane forms the outermost covering of the cell and it separates the contents of the cell from the surroundings. So we can distinguish different cells because of this boundary. If you take the case of a school, in school we have so many classrooms. Am I right? How can we differentiate between different classes? It's because of the walls. The 4 walls each class has got. Similarly, when there is a boundary, when there is a membrane covering each cell, it will separate one cell from the other. And it will permit only the entry and exit of certain materials across the membrane or to move in and out of the membrane. And hence, we call plasma membrane as selectively permeable or semi-permeable membrane. I'll repeat it again. Cell membrane forms the outermost covering of the cell and it separates the contents of the cell from its surroundings. It's because of the cell membrane that we can distinguish different cells. And this membrane will allow only selected materials to move in and out of the cell. Hence, we can call this membrane as selectively permeable. Any material or all the materials cannot freely move across this membrane. It will screen, it will filter, it will allow only certain materials to enter. Just like the gatekeeper of a school is allowing the entry of certain people to move in and out during the time of regular class hours. If in between your class hours, if any student wants to go out, will he permit you to go?
No.
No. But at the same time, if principal, chairman or teacher is wants to go, then if they want to go, he will permit. So the same way, plasma membrane also will check what materials should go in and out. Only selected materials will move in and out of the cell. Any doubts?
No, ma'am.
Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Be clear or somewhat
ma'am.
clear?
Unclear.
Okay, then You tell me the points and then I'll proceed. So what all points we learned today? Asin, you may start.
Types of cells in human body.
Yes.
Types of cells in human body.
Types of cells or types of organisms we learned. First, what we learned? Types of organisms. Which are the two types of organisms?
Unicellular and multicellular.
And this classification is based on what?
Cells.
Number of cells. Don't simply say cell. It's based on just purely based on the number of cells. Then what else we learned? Fatimat. After that, we learned about unicellular and multicellular. After that,
Types of cells.
what did we learn?
Blood cell, bone cell, sperm cell.
I'm not able to hear your voice properly. I'll come back to you later. Alia?
Ma'am, the functions
Speak
decide
a
the
little
shape of
louder.
the cells. Ma'am, the functions decide the shape of the cells.
Okay. The function of the cell or the shape of the cell depends on the function it has to perform. Then, Alia?
Ma'am, we learned about cell organelles.
What did we discuss about cell organelles?
Organelles are specialized structures.
The cell, some specialized structures are there which perform
a specific.
Somebody help her out. Which perform
She said
Specific functions.
specific functions, which perform specific functions, and it is because of these organelles that cell is able to live and perform properly. After that, we learned about the three main components of a cell. Which are the three main components of a cell, Midun?
Plasma membrane or cell membrane, nucleus, and cytoplasm.
Cytoplasm. Okay. And what we learned about cell membrane, Ashmit?
It is the most outermost covering.
It's outermost covering of a cell. One more point.
It only allows selected materials to pass through.
So we call it as a what type of membrane?
Semi-permeable.
Very good. Semi-permeable, or you can call it as selectively permeable membrane. So till here it is clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Now next we are going to learn about diffusion. Okay, why? You might be thinking we were discussing about the different parts of a cell. So suddenly how diffusion came in between? Because it is with the help of this process, or it is through this process that the materials are moving across the cell membrane. So it's a process by which materials move across the cell membrane. That is why in between or under the heading plasma membrane, we are discussing about diffusion. Diffusion is the movement of substances from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. It's a movement of substances from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. Example is the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide across the cell membrane. I'll repeat once again. Diffusion is a movement of substances from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. Example, exchange of carbon dioxide and oxygen. Carbon dioxide and oxygen get exchanged through the cell membrane by means of diffusion. Gases like oxygen and carbon dioxide will be transported across the cell membrane by means of diffusion. And what is diffusion? Movement of substances. From where to where they move? From a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. Okay. I'll repeat once again. I think diffusion is a new term. Diffusion means the movement of substances from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration, from where it is more in amount to a region where it is less. Okay, so it will always move from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. Clear? That is known
Ma'am.
as diffusion.
Ma'am,
Diffusion
can you say that
is the
example?
movement of substances from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. An example is movement of oxygen and carbon dioxide. For example, like oxygen, when it is less outside, or you take the case of a cell. Outside the cell, oxygen is more. Inside the cell, oxygen is less. In such a case, oxygen will move from outside into the cell. So it always move from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. Shivanya wanted to ask some doubt?
No, ma'am, I asked to repeat the example once again.
Okay. Is that clear? We will learn in detail about diffusion next class. I'll repeat once again. Diffusion is the movement of substances from
Region of higher
region of
concentration.
higher
Region of high
concentration.
concentration.
Region of
Lower
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 concentration.
concentration. What was the example that I mentioned?
Exchange
Movement
of
of
oxygen and
Of
carbon
of
dioxide.
oxygen and carbon dioxide.
across the cell
The
membrane.
details, how it is taking place and all, we will learn next class. Okay, who is going to tell me diffusion? What is diffusion? Vinayak, what is meant by diffusion, child?
The movement of substance from a region of high concentration to a region of lower concentration.
Very good. Then who will repeat it? Catherine? Catherine, where are you? Yes. What is diffusion?
Movement of substance from the higher range to
Region of
region of higher
concentration,
to the range of lower concentration.
lower concentration. To a region of lower concentration is known as what?
Diffusion.
Diffusion. And the example, Dion, give me the example.
Movement of oxygen and carbon dioxide.
Is an example across the movement or the exchange of carbon dioxide and oxygen across the cell membrane is an example for diffusion. So shall we wind up?
Yes, ma'am.
No doubts, no?
No, ma'am.
So bye children, see you next class.
Bye, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.